It's Easter Monday, and I got to tell you, what a difference a day makes. So yesterday during the service, during the hymn after the sermon, I focused on the new growth of those little plants, and they were just opening up. It was just a little bit, but have a look at this today. Look at these things. One day they're sprouting up, and it's interesting, life is like that. You see the barest potential, and then all of a sudden, just boom. It's remarkable how God works. So I want to tell you about, excuse me, I want to tell you about Saturday, my Saturday. It was a long day and it was kind of a hard day, but it was also kind of funny too. So we had worked out our licensing issues that allow us to now have music. So we were able to have music on Easter for the first time because you need a different kind of license if you're going to broadcast online rather than singing corporately here together. So we got all that taken care of, and Ian Madge put together some stuff, and he sent me some MP3s of himself playing, and he had combined different instruments and sort of put these tracks over one another, so they were excellent. But I thought, well, I don't know how to incorporate the MP3 into the worship service because I don't want to just be sitting there dumbly while music plays in the background. I mean, nobody wants to look at that. So I thought, well, what can I do that would be Eastery, that would give us something to contemplate and look at while we're listening to the music that Ian had prepared. So I thought about trying to recreate on Easter morning the part that I read to you from John. It includes this wild race to the tomb. So after Mary has come to the tomb and discovered that the stone is rolled away, that it's empty, she runs to the disciples and she says, "There's something going on down at the tomb. You got to come check it out." And so they run down, they race down to see what's happening. And so I thought I would try and maybe recreate that. And so that opening prelude that Ian wrote, that I was going to do a bike ride from my house to the church, which is about a kilometer and a half. And if I go fairly quickly, I can actually try and fit into that time frame of the song because it was about a minute 40 seconds. So I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I thought it'd be very nice for the folks who are, essentially stuck at home, that as they're watching, it would just be this nice cruise through the streets of Simcoe early in the morning. So I determined that I was going to do that. Now I don't have a good camera, and I don't have a GoPro. That's what I need, those cameras that you can mount on your helmet. Didn't have anything like that. So I thought, well, I'm gonna try this with my tablet. So I took my tablet and I hung it on a string around my neck. And so I hopped on my bike. Noah came with me, and off we go, racing to the church as fast as we can to make that minute and 40 seconds. So we got to the church, and then when I get to the church, I run up the stairs and throw open the doors, and there's the sanctuary all lit up and candles going and all. Um, and it was wonderful, except for the fact that the tablet hanging on me was just like bouncing and stuff on me as I was riding. So it was, you couldn't watch the video without getting seasick. So I thought I would try it again. So I tried it again, and I put extra scarves around to kind of give it some padding. And I made sure that as I was riding my bike, I wasn't actually sitting on the seat because unfortunately the roads around here are so terrible. You really can't get more than 2 meters without hitting a significant bump and upsetting everything. So I'm having to ride just on my hands and feet, right? Trying to keep my body steady as I'm going. And there was a good stiff wind, and coming back up West Street is just a big long hill. I have not been that tired in a long time. I mean, I'm just I'm pedaling and pedaling. I'm huffing and puffing and going real slow. Uh, just about wore me out. But anyway, it wasn't working. I had gone back and forth quite a few times, and I couldn't get the quality of video that I wanted. So I ended up I put the tablet on my head with a headband, and I tried that, and again, it's just too much bouncing, and Anyway, by about the fourth or the fifth time that I was trying this, I'm racing through the streets of Simcoe, riding as fast as I can on my bike with this tablet that is duct taped to my head. And needless to say, well, you didn't see the video, so you know how it all turned out. But I spent hours, probably 5 or 6 hours, trying to capture this, trying to get this. And I'm sure there was probably a couple of people that lived along the route that were watching me as I was going by, increasingly looking more tired, more disheveled, and the tablet going from hanging to tucked into a headband to like taped on my head, thinking, Isn't that the Presbyterian minister? What do you think he's up to?" And it makes me think a little bit about King David at one point. He's dancing as they're bringing the ark into Jerusalem. He's thrilled and he's dancing for the Lord. And Micah looks at him and she's like, "Man, you're such a fool. Like, don't you have any dignity? What's the matter with you?" Because he's dancing and he's getting disheveled and his clothing's kind of coming off. And his response is, "You know what? I'm dancing for the Lord, and really I care what God thinks. I don't really care what you think right now." And Paul said something similar too. He writes about being a fool for Christ. And actually, I've taken that. I've kind of taken that upon me as an identity. That's actually what my business cards say. They say "fool for Christ." I don't have a fancy title of minister or reverend or anything on my cards. Fool for Christ. But the way I understand it is that it's not mere spectacle for the sake of showmanship. So as Christians, we're not called to do silly, foolish things just to gain attention. That's certainly not the point. But the point is that we should care so much about getting that message out, that Easter message of love and reconciliation and new life and growth and acceptance and community and welcome. And we should care so much about getting that out that we don't really care so much what other people think of us, because it's more important that people hear that message and have that opportunity to have that relationship with Christ. That's much more important than what people think about us. It's much more important for us to do what God calls us to do rather than worry about our reputation. And when we look at Jesus, we see that he frequently crossed social boundaries, right? So he would hang out with the tax collectors, he would hang out with the sinners, those questionable women, lepers, like going up and kissing a leper. He didn't worry so much about what other people thought. What he worried about was doing the right thing and doing what God called him to do. And that should be our focus as well too. I came across a quote a little while ago, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It says, "The fear of God makes a hero, but the fear of man makes a coward." And I think this is absolutely brilliant, that if we really care about what God says and what God thinks and what God asks of us, we will live extraordinary lives. But if we worry about what other people think, if that's our prime concern, we'll never step out from the herd. We'll never do anything remarkable, and we won't be able to participate in the miracles that God calls us to do. So essentially, I guess what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to duct tape a tablet to your head if that's what's required to try and do what you feel God is calling you to do. If that's what's needed to get the message out, if you have to talk to somebody who your friends wouldn't approve of, if you have to, whatever it is that you have to do that calls you out of your comfort zone, do it. Absolutely do it, because you won't regret it. The other people won't regret it. And that's really what we're called for. So as I close, I think now that Easter's done, I'm going to take a couple of days and not do the videos. I found that while we've been in lockdown, it has been actually far from a lockdown. So for myself, 6 days a week, I'm here in my study before the sun comes up to basically write a short sermon, So write it and rehearse it and record it and re-record it and re-record it and re-record it and edit it and upload it. And I like doing it. I'm not complaining about doing it, but at the same time, it's time for me to take a little bit of time to step back, regroup, and rethink, because this crisis isn't going away anytime soon, and need time to consider all the different ways in which we can be a church. The videos are one way, and they're a lot of fun, but there's also a lot of pastoral concerns too that need to be addressed. So I'm going to take a couple of days off to just contemplate, think, and pray, and seek some direction. And then in about 2 days or so, I'll be back online. So in the meantime, happy Easter. Look for those signs of life. Look for that growth. May God bless you so richly. Amen.